This video is brought to you by Recurrent, an essential EV tool that gives free access to TFL EV viewers in the US. With Recurrent, EV shoppers can check range and battery info on used cars. EV owners can connect to compare their range and battery health to similar vehicles. And EV sellers can use Recurrent to get more money for their sales. With Recurrent, we can find, drive, and sell electric cars positively. Click on the link in the description below to get free access to Recurrent's amazing EV tools.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Charlotte, North Carolina. And we have a special video for you. And it has a little bit to do with this Chevy Blazer EV LT. It actually has a little bit more to do perhaps with this Chevy Blazer EV RS. Actually, it has everything to do with this vehicle right over here. This is the brand spanking new Chevy Blazer EV SS. Now, in history, if you go back with Chevrolet, SS usually means that you're talking about a more muscular version of the vehicle that has that on there. And you can go back to the Chevelle and Camaros, Malibus, even the front wheel drive Malibu, remember that one? Even a Cobalt SS, remember that one? Yeah, quite a few vehicles have had that on here. However, in this case, it transforms a vehicle that was already pretty quick into the second fastest Chevrolet that will be on offer. That's right, next to the Corvette, this is their second fastest vehicle. 615 horsepower, 650, that's 650 pound-feet of torque, all-wheel drive, and it is a beast. In this video, we're gonna take you all around the vehicle, show you about the tech, tell you about what's going on the inside, and also talk about some of the updates externally. Now at first, at least from the silhouette, they do look very similar. However, big changes really do pop up once you look at the wheels because they are extremely different. Now this is the LT version, which comes standard front wheel drive. It is the base model. You can get an all-wheel drive version of this as well. This is obviously their entry-level model. So it's not their super fast one, it's not the super handling one, it is to get you through the door. And what you're going to notice when you see the front end of it is that it actually has a unique front end. All three of these do. General Motors went through a lot of trouble to make sure that they all looked different. So with the LT, what you're getting here is, look at that, color-coded all throughout with these interesting little things here. I don't know, the little veins that are going out. What you're going to do is look beneath this light bar section, and it'll really pop when you get to the next one. So the next one over here is the RS. Now the RS, we had a lot of experience with this one, and that's because there were two different models that we were able to play with. One had a very powerful rear drive motor. That one felt a lot more like a sports car to us. It was a lot of fun to drive. Also, different wheels. Yes, so it pops a little bit more. But then you get into the gloss finish that you have here as opposed to the muted color on the other one. And then you get to this. Remember I was telling you below the light bar? Yeah, even the light bar is different here. But then down here, look at that. You have this black section here. Kind of looks like an angry growl. This is a completely unique front end for this vehicle. Then, and did I mention, by the way, that this actually has an all-wheel drive option? It does indeed. I prefer the rear-wheel drive one because it was like really stupid fun to drive, but maybe that's just me. And here's the best part. Even more power and more presence in the SS. Big wheels, 22-inch. You can clearly see those Brembo brakes. Those are 6-piston. By the way, two different brake sizes that you can get, so you can upfit it to an even larger one. And then, if you follow me to the front, once again, a unique nose. Now this is very similar to the RS up here, but down here, all of this, completely unique. And you can really see it down here. I honestly don't know if there are aerodynamic advantages to having this front end look like this, but it certainly looks cool. The rear ends of the LT and the RS are very similar, except for the bumper. See, this is the LT bumper here. It's got that little kind of gray thing going on. The RS has this all painted bumper, but essentially pretty much the same different badging, stuff like that. But then everything changes when you come over to this, because clear taillights, which means high performance. Yeah. And this, I think, almost functional rear diffuser. I think it's just for looks, but still looks cool. And once again, that's important because it's an SS. Now, I don't know about you, but I find these to be very attractive wagons. And yes, I just said wagon. I'm sorry, but at 7.5 inches of ground clearance, it really isn't an SUV in my mind. It is really more of a sports wagon, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's actually pretty cool. It just kind of sits a little bit high. However, the SS adds a little bit more oomph to it by giving you two-tone coloring. This orange is actually pretty cool. And you also get a unique side skirt as well. Now bear in mind, underneath this vehicle is a 102 kilowatt hour battery. Well, guess what? That's underneath all of these Chevy Blazers. So they share an awful lot of components with each other. Same wheelbase, same height, basically the same vehicle in terms of using a measuring tape. But gotta admit, this one looks a little bit more sporty. All right, so what you're looking at here is a very similar interior to all three vehicles. This is the LT. And as such, you get actually a pretty decent setup inside. Don't worry about what she's saying right now. I really like this two-tone design with the seats. I think it's actually really cool looking. And the raised white stitching, really good. This is a base entry-level vehicle, right? So you also get the 11-inch screen here, driver information, and this massive 17.7-inch infotainment screen, volume control, heating and air conditioning buttons here for your environmental controls. Pretty simple setup. You do have rotary knobs. All of this is very much the same in all three cars. Despite the fact this is the LT, you still get a ton of features. That's including things like heated steering, and you get USB ports. Look at that. You get heated seats. You get dual zone climate control. These are, oh, and this, look at that. That's really cool here. That is wireless charging. This all comes standard on the base model. So once again, it kind of goes to the whole thing of, they already started with a really nice setup. How do you make it better? All right, now we're in the RS. As I said before, we've had a lot of experience with both RS models, the rear drive and the all-wheel drive one. And one of the things that you notice right away is that there's a lot of red, because red is fast. And it agreed with me by beeping. So you have this cool little inlay here with the vents, and I do like these vent controls, by the way. They're cool. I just dig it. But there's more red because you have red stitching here. You have red piping and stitching here on the seats and center armrest. And is that blue? I think there's a little bit of blue right there as well. I didn't even notice that before. And then finally, of course, that vent right there, look how much red is there. It almost looks like, I don't know, like candy or something like that, the way it's flickering in the sunlight. Yeah, it's very dramatic. The thing is that the interior is a step up. It's including this red here, by the way, in case you missed it. But it's basically the same as the LT. It just has a little bit more flair to it. And frankly speaking, this flat bottom steering wheel with this great stitching in the RS right here, this stuff here is pretty cool. I'm liking that. All right, now we are in the SS. And the first thing you're going to notice about the SS is a ton of orange. And I have a theory about that. You see, orange, you glad you got an SS? I know it's too early for that one. That was really bad. I'm sorry. I just had to try. So we do have really cool. This is similar to the white trim on the LT, but it's orange. So this goes all the way through. You have a whole bunch here in the seats, just tons of orange. And then you have this unique perforated setup here. It's actually, they say it's an S. I say that's an N. And I think that they need to talk to Hyundai about that. Those look like N's to me from my seating angle. But what's interesting is that rather than going orange on the insets here, like the red that they did on the RS, they kept it this color here, which is kind of a grayish silver color. Interesting choice. But they went back to orange here. And then they went back to the gray thing over there on that bezel. So it's an interesting choice. They decided to make it, mix it up a little bit. But here's the big news. Aside from the fact that we have a steering wheel that yet again is extremely well shaped, flat bottom for large people, and has the stitching, it has, wait for it, orange seat belts. Who needs red when you can go orange? Aren't you glad you got orange seat belts? And one big thing, standard for the SS, this is Super Cruise. Okay, important note as I lift the bonnet, the hood. This is like a BMW, so it takes a double pull to open this. But if you want to have some fun, pull it once and tell your friends, I don't know what you're doing wrong. You're not able to open it. What's going on? And really stir them up. It's a lot of fun, I guarantee it. Now, first thing you're going to notice, there is no frunk. There's no front trunk. No cargo area in here whatsoever. But what you do get is a big honkin' electric motor. And this is where the magic comes in, because combined with big honkin' rear electric motor, you're making 615 horsepower and 650 pound-feet of torque. Now, bear in mind, that's in the WOW mode, the wide open watts mode. And it may sound a little cheesy, but bear in mind that GMC uses the WTF, watts to freedom, So, 0 to 60, according to General Motors, is 3.4 seconds. And just as importantly, this vehicle has a range, EPA estimated, over 300 miles, despite all this power. Bear in mind, underneath, 102 kilowatt hour battery. So it's the same battery as the other ones. It's just that they're just using bigger motors with it. I shall now demonstrate the slowest part of this vehicle. Yep. So what you're looking at here is a regular CCS port. However, as an option, you can get an NACS adapter, Tesla adapter, so you can pop it in there. No word on when they'll switch everything over, or even if they will. However, I can tell you this vehicle can charge, it's got a 400 volt architecture, up to 190 kilowatts at a DC fast charger. And let's just see here how fast that thing closes. Oh, here it comes. Yeah, I wasn't kidding about the slowest part of the car. Okay, the seat is now adjusted for me. I am around 6'1", and I shall sit behind myself. Now, first of all, I have size 13 boots on, and they fit nicely under the front seat in front of me. And I have pretty good leg room. I would say an inch or two here. Yeah. Headroom is not bad, but when I pull my head far back, like here, which you will be doing under hard acceleration, this type of thing, then it acts like a safety feature and actually prevents my head from falling off my shoulders, flying backwards, because it's rubbing against the roof. Now, the good news is you get orange seat belts, which means you're even faster in the back. That's awesome. One more thing to mention, air vents back here with these cool little air things. Yeah, they swivel as well, which is cool. So you open and close. And then 2 USB-Cs. And yes, heated seats back here. And just in case you wanted something else novel that you never see before, look at that. Cup holders and an armrest all in one. And it comes with a key. Okay, so in this vehicle, you get 25.8 cubic feet of cargo space behind the second row. And then you get 59.8 cubic feet of cargo space with the rows folded flat. And I bet you're wondering about this. Well, look at that. You got extra cargo space, plenty of room for extra products. Roman's false leg would fit in there actually quite nicely. And you have extra cargo up there and room for a charger setup over here. One note, though, that I want to make is that cubic space is because of the sunroof. If you don't have the sunroof, you get a little tiny bit more space. Prices for the front wheel drive LT start under 50 grand. And then you can go up a notch and get yourself all-wheel drive. Now, speaking of that, you can also get rear drive RS, or you can get all-wheel drive RS, and those prices start at around $55. Then, of course, you've got the bad boy. For this Blazer SS, you will start at around $62,000. Now, bear in mind, all these prices, this is before rebates and before tax credits. Now, let's say you get carried away in your Blazer SS and you're flying down the road and all of a sudden you see blues and twos flying up behind you, and being able to keep pace with you and be silent and deadly. Talk amongst yourselves on that one. But the important point is that you would probably be dealing with this. This is the PPV, Police Pursuit Vehicle. And essentially underneath it is a Blazer SS. So it has that same powertrain, but it has cop shocks, cop suspension all throughout, wheels that are steel because that's cop stuff. And of course you got like the gumball lighting thing here. And this is really cool and scary. Just by touching, I think I'm gonna get tased. And of course, really important here, you have this police emblem that General Motors put on here, but they added a little carbon fiber flare there. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Now let's work our way to the back of the vehicle because just in case there's an emergency, you know the number. And additional lights throughout. And there's a rail gun in the back. No, I'm kidding. But this is proof positive that they're quite serious about making this more than just a family hauler. They want to do more with it. They want to show it's got some grunt. Speaking of grunt, I've got something for you. And that's this. And no, they're not kidding. This was officially the pace car, the 2025 Daytona 500. Pace car. So it went out there, and as a pace car, it did every lap asked of it, and it had plenty of juice left over when it was done. You can see by the livery and everything else, they were very happy with it. No problems, went out there. And you know, people look at pace cars and they think that they're going really, really slow. You'd be surprised at how fast they actually have to go. And this, well, this was it. So for those of you who are NASCAR fans, Chevrolet brought this out there, did lots of laps, that's including during the rain, with emergencies, bringing in laps, slowing everybody down, doing everything a pace car is supposed to do, and it did it in style, and it managed to do it with plenty of battery left over after the race. And there you have it. The second fastest Chevrolet currently in production. The fastest SS ever made, and by far the fastest Blazer, or at least the fastest vehicle that has a Blazer name on it, that you have ever seen. And in the near future, there's going to be other videos where we get to actually drive this thing all over the place. Stay tuned for that. I'll see you next time.